Today we are talking redraft tight ends, where you should be drafting all these guys over on Underdog Fantasy, where you should be taking Dalton Kincaid, because I know that is a huge topic of discussion, where we should be taking Engram, where we should be taking David Njoku, where we should be drafting Travis Kelce, all of the above. We're going to get into it on this show. Either way, before we get into it, if you guys could, go around and give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment, so you guys have any questions related to fantasy football. It could be anything. Please fire away down below and subscribe to the channel. It is the number one way to support me. It's completely free. It would mean the absolute world to me. Either way, let's hop right into it with our tight end one, and this is going to surprise everyone. Drum roll, please. It's Travis Kelce. I'm just kidding. Travis Kelce, easily the tight end one in fantasy football right now. Travis Kelce, I don't have to tell you much about him, but I will anyways. He finished as the tight end one, not a tight end one, 6 of the last 7 seasons, and the only season where he did not finish as a tight end 1, he finished as a tight end 2. His wide receiving core is absolutely desolate over with the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Tony, you got Sky Moore, but really, I mean, it's not great. Kelce will be the number 1 lead dog in this offense. The only question is, how high is he going over on Underdog Fantasy? Right now, he's coming off the board at around an ADP of 6, so pick 6. Going ahead of guys like Bijan Robinson, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, and I don't necessarily know if I'm trying to take him that high. Occasionally, if he falls to me, maybe at pick 8, sure, I'll take a shot on him, try and stack him up with Patrick Mahomes. But if I am there at pick 6, I probably am leaning AJ Brown or Devontae Adams at that point. Either way, that's enough about Travis Kelce. Let's move on to my next tight end, Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews is a great tight end in his own right. I do have him in a tier of his own, Kelce in a tier of his own, then Mark Andrews right below him. And Mark Andrews, a great tight end in his own right, was the person who dethroned Kelce after 5 straight years of the tight end 1. And he's just a great tight end. You really can't go wrong taking Mark Andrews. I mean, this is a guy who had over 1,300 yards 2 seasons ago with Lamar Jackson, has finished as a top 5 tight end pretty much every single season of his career other than his rookie season. Now that Lamar signs back, great news for him. The only concern is there is a little bit more weaponry in this offense than there has been in years past. I mean, the most comparable year is probably 2021 when he had Marquise Brown, and he was able to have 1,300 yards anyway. I think Mark Andrews will be absolutely fine, but obviously a rung below where Travis Kelce is. Either way, let's move on. We do have TJ Hockenson here. TJ Hockenson, yeah, sure, you can make the case to have him in the same tier as Mark Andrews. I'm a little bit concerned, though, with TJ Hockenson for a couple of reasons. One, he's never had an 1,000-yard season. Not once in his entire career. His best season was last season where he had a little over 900 yards, which is fine. Sure, it's above average at the tight end position, but it's not what Mark Andrews was able to do at his ceiling. Not even what the guy behind him was able to do at his ceiling. And furthermore, you have a lot of competition in this offense. I mean, you have Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in all of football. And then you also have Jordan Addison coming in to take volume away from TJ Hockenson potentially. I think this could lead to a bump in efficiency for TJ Hockenson, sort of someone like Dallas Goedert, where, yes, he's probably not getting as many targets, but the efficiency is through the roof. But I am a tiny bit concerned taking a tight end at the tight end 3 like that. I still am drafting TJ Hockenson. It's not like he's in a void for me, but I do have him here at my tight end 3 for those reasons. But either way, let's move on to my tight end 4, and that is George Kittle. And George Kittle is coming off as the tight end 4 right now, but the gap is decently substantial. I mean, he's coming off the board 8 picks behind TJ Hockenson, and I'm fine taking either one of these guys pretty interchangeably. Yeah, there is some concerns with George Kittle. I mean, much like CJ Hockenson, he is in a great offense where he's not going to be getting a ton of volume all the time. I mean, you have Christian McCaffrey, a great pass-catching running back. You have Debo. You have Brandon Ayuk. This is a great offense with a great offensive line. And if George Kittle weren't such a good blocker, he would probably be running routes a little bit more in this offense. But either way, George Kittle does not get the ball enough to be a great volume play week in and week out. But his ceiling is insane. The last 4 weeks of the season, finishing with 23 points, 27 points, 10 points, and 17 points. That is great at the tight end position. You can't really ask for much more than that. But you do have some dud weeks here and there, dropping like 4 points, 3 points, simply because they go to other options during certain points in time during the game. That's why George Kittle is a little bit of a question mark from a week-to-week basis. But if you're going for that ceiling play, I think George Kittle is absolutely fine, and I'm fine with that over on Underdog Fantasy. Either way, let's move on, and we do have Kyle Pitts. And Kyle Pitts, one of the hardest tight ends to rank, one of the hardest players to rank in general. And the reason why is because he had such a prolific rookie season, finishing having the second best rookie tight end season ever in terms of yards, only behind Mike Ditka, who did it in 1961. Other than that, I mean, he was the best tight end, bar none, as a rookie. Only tight end with over 900 yards, and he had over 1,000, so great tight end. Then comes out year 2, and really falters in this Marcus Mariota-led offense, which does make some sense. Marcus Mariota was very rarely throwing the ball. I mean, Marcus Mariota averaged just over 14 completions a game this past season with 23 attempts. That is not sustainable for high amounts of production at the position, and things don't really look much better. You do have Desmond Ridder here. Desmond Ridder throwing for 2 touchdowns in 4 games. It's really not all that great. But at the same time, they should end up passing the ball a bit more. Yes, you do have Bijan Robinson, somebody who's going to get a ton of touches, but I think there will be more overall plays in this offense if that is the case. Especially if they're down in games, they might be relying on the pass a little bit more. Because last year, they'd go down in games and try and bail it out the run, simply because Marcus Mariota was too bad of a quarterback. But now with all the weapons that you have here, you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Bijan Robinson, they might be able to get in some shootouts, in which Ridder might not be able to keep up in, but I'm fine with that. A shootout's a shootout any day of the week. I think Kyle Pitts fits the mold. I think Kyle Pitts fits in right around here. Can't really have him any lower because his talent is too high. Can't really have him any higher because his last season was simply so poor. Next up, we do have Dallas Goedert, and Dallas Goedert is the complete opposite of Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, one of those boom-bust tight ends, somebody who will drop you 20 points on any given week, but then drop you 3 points the next. Dallas Goedert's the opposite, where Dallas Goedert will finish with around 9 fantasy points every single week. Yeah, still have a boom week here and there. Yeah, still have a dud week here and there. But generally speaking, you're getting pretty safe production out of Dallas Goedert. And that reflects in his year-by-year positional ranking, as he's finished as the tight end 10 almost every single season he's played a full season. Last year, finishing as the tight end 10 despite only playing 12 games, 702 receiving yards, and 69 targets. Despite the fact that he did only play 12 games, that puts him on a 90-target pace, which in this offense, which is going to be extremely efficient, I'm absolutely fine with. I would be concerned a little bit more because Devonta Smith might actually see an uptick in targets, up from 136, and we could even see A.J. Brown get more targets, but if either of them were to go down, Dallas Goedert shoots up his rankings as well, simply due to the fact that he's going to have more volume in this offense. Either way, let's move on. We do have Darren Waller, and Darren Waller, a great tight end in his own right. The problem has been injuries. The last 2 seasons, he's missed a combined 14 games, which is a lot. But when he was playing in 2020 and 2019, he was a great tight end, borderline tight end 1, finishing as the tight end 2 and the tight end 3 over the last 2 seasons, having almost 1,200 yards in 2020. Well, we might not see Darren Waller return to that level of production. He does step into an offense where he pretty much is the only receiving option. I mean, yes, you have Jalen Hyatt brought in the 3rd round, but I think Jalen Hyatt's more of a real-life NFL wide receiver where he'll benefit the team more than he does your fantasy team. Personally, I think he will be a decoy on a lot of routes. Then you have Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins. Darren Waller is going to be heavily utilized in this offense. That is almost a fact in my mind as long as he stays healthy. And I'm willing to take a risk on him here since he is going so late behind all these other guys. I'm willing to take a risk on him. Either way, let's move on. And we do have this guy in a tier of his own. It's Pat Freiermuth. And Pat Freiermuth, a great tight end in his own right. Somebody who had over 700 yards last year. Despite playing for a rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett, a team with an abysmal offensive line, and a good amount of target competition. I mean, you have Deontay Johnson, you have George Pickens. Both of these guys are good target competition for Pat Freiermuth, and even still, Pat Freiermuth able to have almost 100 targets. And yes, he only does see 2 touchdowns, but he did see 7 in his rookie year, proving that he is capable of getting into the end zone. And I think that's what you like to see from a guy like Pat Freiermuth, because if we are able to see this volume in terms of 100 targets yet again, 700 yards, but 2 touchdowns, goes from 2 to 5 or 6, that propels him from around the tight end 9, 10 to probably the tight end 5 or 6. And that's why I'm taking Pat Freiermuth here in a tier of his own. He's going as the tight end 10 over on Underdog Fantasy. In my opinion, I would rather have Freiermuth over the next 2 guys we'll talk about right now, Njoku and Evan Engram. I do have Njoku ahead of Evan Engram here just slightly because I think the target competition is a little bit less, and Deshaun Watson's a little bit more proven of a quarterback. That being said, Trevor Lawrence probably does have a higher ceiling than Deshaun Watson. Either way, let's talk about Njoku first. David Njoku, a very athletic tight end who I think will be pretty heavily utilized in this offense because outside of Amari Cooper, you really have no proven options. I love Elijah Moore, do not get me wrong, but he, outside of 6 weeks in the NFL, he really hasn't proven much at the NFL level. So I think Njoku could easily make the case to be the number 2 target in this offense. And if that is the case, Njoku will be above average at the position. Well, we might not see an insane ceiling. I think we could easily see 800-900 yards. And if that's the case, I am so fine taking Njoku here. let's move on to Evan Engram. Evan Engram, the problem with Evan Engram is the fact that there are so many mouths to feed in this offense. I mean, you have Calvin Ridley coming back off suspension. You have Christian Kirk, a very capable wide receiver. You have Zay Jones, a very capable wide receiver. And then you have Travis Etienne, a very capable pass catcher in the backfield. Somebody's going to have to suffer on any given game. And some games, it's going to be Engram. Engram might get open on some other games. He might have very high boom games, but he's going to suffer some games. That's why I actually think Evan Engram is a little bit better than I'm letting on here over on Underdog Fantasy, because his boom games will be very prevalent. And on Underdog Fantasy, you care more about volatility than you do about stability over on Underdog Fantasy. But either way, let's move on from Evan Engram and talk about these last two guys over in redraft. And this is where the tight end landscape really gets pretty dry. I love Chig Okonkwo. I do. I think he's a really good tight end, really talented. And this Titans offense really has nobody else. But year 2 tight ends generally do not perform very well at all. And that's why I am a little bit worried in the short term with Chig. I think Chig Okonkwo long term will be a great tight end. Right now, though, I do have him ranked here right around where I think he should be. I'm willing to take a shot on him simply because he is going 22 picks behind Pat Freiermuth. So I'm fine taking him in the 130s here. But at the same time, I'm pretty worried about this Titans passing attack in general. You don't know if Ryan Tannehill is going to be starting. You don't know if Will Levis is going to be starting. Either way, you're not really too happy about it. Not really too big of a fan of the situation, but the talent is absolutely there. So I'm willing to take a shot on the talent here of Chig Okonkwo. Either way, we do have Greg Dulcich here as my number 12 tight end. Be sure to stick around. I do have one more surprise tight end that I do want to talk about after Greg Dulcich, but I think Greg Dulcich actually had a pretty under-the-radar good rookie season, having over 400 yards despite only playing 10 games, and we saw how terrible this Broncos offense was. I mean, Russell Wilson was awful. Nathaniel Hackett was awful. And yet Greg Dulcich was able to perform. I'm more than willing to take a shot on him as a little bit of a later tight end. Maybe your first tight end too if you go out and grab one of those elite guys. Either way, I'm more than fine owning Greg Dulcich. I think he does have the talent, and he clearly proved he is the tight end one in this offense over Alberto, who's getting a ton of hype last offseason. Either way, I do want to talk about one more guy, and this is a guy I'm really torn on. Dalton Kincaid. I think Dalton Kincaid is a very talented tight end. For one, we saw him dominate in college as a tight end at Utah, having almost 900 yards in 12 games, which is great at the tight end position, especially considering the fact that he also had 8 touchdowns at the position. So Dalton Kincaid has the talent, that's for sure. Check. Does he land in the right situation? Yes, he goes to the Buffalo Bills, one of the best teams in the NFL, who was direly in need of another receiving option opposite of Stephon Diggs. So he lands in himself in a great situation. Check. The problem is with Dalton Kincaid, rookie tight ends almost never hit immediately. That's why I think he is better to go out and buy in Dynasty than in redraft right now. Could he finish as a top 5 tight end his rookie season? Yes, I would not put it past him. But at the same time, I'm really not willing to take the risk on somebody as unproven as this at the NFL level, when generally speaking, the pretty much absolute ceiling for Dalton Kincaid is around 850 yards at the NFL level. And that is absolute ceiling, barring him being a historically great tight end. Keep in mind, only 2 tight ends in their rookie season have ever had over 900 yards. I'm just not willing to buy into that. He has to be a complete anomaly to be great, especially when the anomaly in question is coming off the board as the tight end 11 here, right behind Pat Freiermuth, and it's looking like any day now he's going to pass Pat Freiermuth. He's only 5 picks behind him now. So I'm personally not willing to take a shot on Dalton Kincaid here. Let me know what you guys think, because if anyone's going to be the exception, it's him. He steps into a phenomenal situation, but I cannot take the bet on anomalies. Let me know what you guys think down below. Either way, though, guys, that's going to be it from me for this video. Hope you did enjoy. If you did, go smash this like. Go smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life. High five.